Sky Striker is one of the most iconic decks in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! And in Duel Links, it's now much easier to obtain with the new Friend campaign. Hello, I hope you're having a perfectly balanced day. Welcome to a brand new series, Mastering Duel Links Sky Striker. Learning to play this mid-range leaning control deck is not only a lot of fun, but it will make you better at the game by teaching you how to optimally use your interactions. This second episode will be about this new version using TOON table, but with no further ado, enjoy! For the deck profile in this series, I will continue with only explaining changes to the deck just to avoid repeating myself. But if you want to see other episodes for the general explanations, you can check out the playlist here. The big difference with this build is that we value consistency over utility. What does this mean? In the last episode, we played stuff like a second linkage, a second shark cannon, and a second multi-roll, which all expand on our toolbox options and increase our range of utility. But the difference with this build is that we play the bare minimum number of engine cards, and instead choose to play a card that increases consistency. That new addition is TOON Table of Contents, a spell that adds a TOON card from your deck to your hand. So what you do with this is you go TOON Table to search TOON Table to search TOON Table, then you set the third TOON Table and use the Area 0 that the skill gives to you, which then sends that third TOON Table and takes a peek at the top 3 cards to add a striker card. Why is this good? Because in doing this, you thinned the deck by 2 cards and gave yourself a higher chance of finding Engage with Area 0. Not only that, but this TOON Table Area 0 combo puts 3 spells in the graveyard, which lets you get the bonus effects of your striker spells super early. It might sound tempting to play something like 1 TOON World so that you can get an extra spell in the graveyard and deck thin an extra card, but I would not recommend it, because an extra TOON card would be a brick and you do not need the extra spell when you already get 3 spells engraved here after you use the effect of Area 0. And none of these 3 are bricks because they all search each other. It's only bad if you draw 2 of them. It's a very weird 3-card engine, but it is very good. The idea here is we give ourselves a worse grind game and smaller toolbox in exchange for greater consistency with the free TOON table, which in this current meta I think is worth it, and not many matchups go to a grind. The only other difference in the deck is I replaced the 1 white princess with 1 non-fusion area. Playing 1 random tech card in this deck is fine, because you deck thin so much and draw so much that you genuinely have a high chance of seeing this random tech card, even if it's not in your opening hand. And I swapped out white princess for non-fusion area because there are so many fusion decks around right now, and having access to a random floodgate against those fusion decks isn't too bad. It is a unfair card and makes the game not very fun, but winning is good. The 2 tier 1 decks are Despia and Shadow, which are both very heavy fusion decks, and even if you play exclusively on ladder, there is an infinite amount of hero and other fusion decks too. The extra deck and everything else is the same as the last episode, as I felt like it was perfect. But after the Casey Cup Stage 2, we will have a look at what other striker players chose to use. Enjoy the gameplay. The gameplay today is from Casey Cup Stage 2, aside from this first one, which is from my rank up game to DOB Max. I did play a bit in Stage 2, but only to get some replays for today's YouTube video. I have a TCG YCS next weekend, so I'm choosing to prepare for that instead of playing the full 3 days of the Casey Cup. These games are recorded offline, but you can find me live stream on Twitch on Tuesdays at 2 PM EST. This first match is my rank up game to DOV Max, which qualifies you for Stage 2, against Hero, which if you play on ladder a lot, you will face a lot of Hero, so it's a deck to be aware of. it is a pretty good matchup, but there is a card they play that you will see that does make it a bit harder when you go second. And I do not mean Necro Valley, because Necro Valley isn't very good against Striker, because it just gets popped by Afterburners. So yeah, they're going through the new favourite card, adding favourite hero. Equal for Stratos. Tribute, summon Sunrise, Sunrise, go at Miracle Fusion. Making a super wide board. Drawing a bunch of cards as well. And then set 2 pass. So, in my turn, they use Magic Deflector. This is a card which is being played not only for Striker, it's good against Despia too, but it's being played because Striker is also very popular right now, and this card is very good against Sky Striker, because it negates all equip, field, continuous, and quick play spells for the entire turn. So it will negate Area Zero, Multi-Roll, Widow Anchor, Shark Cannon, Equal Booster, and Linkage. So what I do here is chuck both these to the graveyard to draw a card because they are useless, and it gets spells in the graveyard. So what I've got to try and do here is pretty much ideally win this turn without using any quick play, continuous, or field spells, and the ideal way to do this is with our good friend Crusadia Equimax. Equimax is a great tool for OTKs. It can be harder to do if they summon their entire board in defense mode, but even if they do, you have the Sky Striker Hamp to make it so that you can still OTK them if they summon 4 guys in defense mode. And it's easier to do as well if you are not under Magic Deflector, because you can use cards like Anchor and Shark Cannon to climb into that link free. So here we do the Undercut Taker to reduce to 16, but this isn't quite game yet, so we're going to go Afterburners to pop the Sunrise, and then bring back Rose from Grave. Now it's pointing to both Rose and the Hamp, so it's going to gain even more attack, and then that's going to be game over the Hamp. So that is a very common way to OTK any board, even through a card like Magic Deflector. On to stage 2 now, we have a Striker Mirror match. I wanted to feature this game because we haven't actually shown a Striker Mirror match yet in the series. And the deck is very popular, so you will face mirror matches. And you can tell it's Striker because your opponent will have a archive symbol displayed at the start of a duel. And Striker is by far the most popular archive skill deck that doesn't activate at the start, because the Despia skill activates at the start of the game. So we do this Toon Table combo that we mentioned earlier. Get a free engrave to immediately get the draw 1 from Engage with almost no commitment, which is really good. Go up into Kagari, and back the Engage. And I do see delays here from my opponents at the time. It doesn't mean it's Veiler, because Rose can trigger from a opponent Striker being summoned, so I assumed it was Rose in hand here. And we're then going to overlay into Granite. Someone mentioned in the last video they wanted to see me summon Granite a bit more, so here it is. You go Granite into Prison, and then link off into Zeke, and then link up into Shizuku. So pretty much what we did here, right, is we used our cross to make a rank 4, to then grab Heavenly Prison, and then we re-cleared our monster zone by going up into Zeke and into Shiz, so now we have a empty monster zone once again. We reset our board in the end phase, and we are now very well protected with Eagle Booster, Widow Anchor, and Heavenly Prison to protect our set cards too. We have Insane Follow-Up with 6 cards in the hand. Of course, this one's like a blank pretty much, so 5 cards in the hand, I guess. It's very good we have Ray and Rose in the graveyard. Something to mention while we're here actually, and to keep in mind for the Striker Mirror match, is that if your opponent activates Widow Anchor on your monster to try and take it, you can chain your own Widow Anchor onto your monster to negate it, because Widow Anchor has to negate the monster to take it, right? So the chain resolves backwards. So if you negate your monster first, on chain link 2 with your Widow Anchor, when their Widow Anchor resolves on chain link 1, they cannot take the monster. So it doesn't come up in this game because we have Eagle Booster, but there is a key thing to keep in mind if you play the Striker Mirror match, which is that Widow Anchoring yourself in response to their Widow Anchor is a great way to make it so that they cannot take your monster with Widow Anchor. Good burners, they pop Shizuku. They choose not to pop multi-roll, which is incorrect. Then we go bring back Ray, summon Rose from hand, link 2 up into Zeke. Go Zeke to force the Ray effect, Ray tag into Kaina. And we are able to play super conservatively here. We aren't being forced to use our back row, because they use jamming waves here, because they forgot about Heavenly Prison. Maybe we go Anchor, because I'm like, at this point, even if the last card in their hand is a linkage to dodge Anchor, it doesn't matter, so I chain Anchor anyway to the Kagari. Go chain linkage. And then, yeah, we have way too much here. Afterburners pop, chain Eagle Booster protects, and then that is GG, pretty much, because, yeah. We have life points, and we have infinite follow-up, so there is no chance we lose this game. So we have another game against Hero this time showing a game going first, and we do open non-fusion area in our opening hand, but with the way that we play, we draw a lot of cards, so it's quite likely you will find it like one every 4 games or so anyway. Potentially more with Toon Table as well. Engage into multi-roll, pop area 0. Go up into Kagari, recycle engage, we go cross, to add back Ray and put the third spell in the graveyard. Now we have 2 engage, add Rose, draw a card. Engage, add linkage, draw a card, because, yeah, we draw into engage as well, so engage again. Engage into engage into engage. We have used engage 4 times this turn. Go into Granite. Granite to go search for Heavenly Prison. Link 2 into Zeke. Link off into Shizuku. And then set 1, pass, reset the Widow Anchor, and search for another card with Shizuku. So when you open non-fusion area against Hero, you want to also make sure you have Widow Anchor, because then that way, that can stop what's normally their only in-engine out to fusion area, which is Stratos to pop. Because they go skill into Neos, then normal summon Stratos, and then you can anchor it. Because this card can only destroy cards in your turn, so they cannot pop this in their own turn. And popping this in your turn is too late at that point. Because like we mentioned in the last episode, pretty much with Striker you're trying to survive if you go first, because if you make it onto turn 3, you pretty much win with your insane card advantage, as you can see with our 8 cards in the hand here, and more to come as well. Like, a good Striker hand is insanely hard to beat, and the Toon Table makes it so that you get to those insane hands even more because you deck thin further to find your engage. Not a very interactive game here, but that is an example of how you just win on the spot with non-fusion in area. If you don't find non-fusion area, you want to summon Dweller in the extra monster zone in defense mode with Eagle Booster, because then that way they cannot kill you. and you prevent them from drawing cards with Keeper and Liquid Soldier. For this final game, we have a game against Utopia, which going second is a really good matchup for Striker. You do not need to open Insane to break their board, but I know it can be quite fun to watch Striker open a crazy hand like this, so I think it would be a fun inclusion in the video to have a broken hand for our fourth and final replay for today's episode. And it's a good matchup in general because you can just afterburners them and jamming waves them, and they end on a counter trap, but if you just activate multi-roll, they are forced to negate that, because if they don't negate multi-roll on activation, then they can't chain to your spells for the rest of the turn. And then, yeah, nothing too crazy here. They don't end on a rank 4 for some reason, which is probably incorrect, but the rank 4 they would end on is likely Dweller, which wouldn't really do much anyway, so... And yeah. Utopia board, they have counter trap, and then negate, negate, negate. We go Toon table, which immediately gets us that 3 spells from a graveyard with no commitment. We find a multi-roll. Multi-roll forces out the trap. Let me just go engage, and yeah. Pretty much the rest is history. But yeah, thank you all for watching this video. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode 2. There will likely be an episode 3 next week before I go to France for the YCS, and then episode 4 will be the week after. But it's not over yet because they have Rainbow Karibo, which blocks the attack, so they survive again. So they're still in this game. They still have plays, kind of. They have a rank up spell into Utopia Ray V, which isn't doing much when I can just go... Sorry, not Ray V. A rank up into Utopia Ray, which isn't doing much when I can just go Widow Anchor and take it. End phase, they just get their one back, and then I Shark Cannon to take the third one onto my field, Chain Anchor to take it. Now we have all the Utopias in play, but we link them off into Underclock Taker, link off into Equimax, and then GG. So yeah, thank you for watching, hopefully you enjoyed this episode 2. Stay tuned for more, have a perfectly balanced rest of your day, and adios. Want to be a pro at the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG? If you are one of the first 100 to use code BALANCE100, you get your first month in this MetaFi community for free. As part of this, you get personalized deck building help with a 24/7 deck doctor, meta breakdown videos, Q&A, and more. You also get a big discount on any additional content. So all you have to do is make your account on MetaFi, then when you go to subscribe to Researcher tier, just enter the promo code BALANCE100. But make haste, because this trial month only works for the first 100 people.